and Natural Resources. Honorable Minister, please go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. This is my first appearance or meeting most of you since we start Ramadan. I use this opportunity to invoke Allah's blessings, to accept our ibadahs and forgive our sins and make us among those who will have the blessings of Laylatul Qadr. Ameen. Honorable Speaker, I want to use this opportunity to thank the committee that worked on this report. It's comprehensive, and it's also another thing that will also add value to our general management and the sustainable transhumance and enhancing rural livelihoods and promoting peaceful coexistence between farmers and also the herdsmen, but also even the environment in general. So since the report was also addressed to the Minister of Interior and the Minister of Agriculture, Livestock and Food Security, I will concentrate on the recommendations relevant to the Minister of Environment, Climate Change and Natural Resources. Therefore, I take you through the following. On the policy and legal framework, that the government of the Gambia, through the Minister of Agriculture and the Minister of Environment, Climate Change and Natural Resources, develops a comprehensive national transhumance policy while reviewing and updating all relevant laws to adequately regulate transhumance activity in the country. The ministry will work with the Minister of Agriculture, being the lead ministry in this instance, on the development of a national transhumance policy and also the modalities for reviewing existing laws. Second, the Gambia government establishes regional and local grazing committees with statutory mandates to regulate, monitor, and manage grazing areas and related disputes. For the Minister of Agriculture, Livestock, and Food Security. So this one, I will leave it for that. On the third, that the Minister of Environment integrates transhumance consideration into national climate adaptation strategy in recognition of the growing impacts of climate change on pastoral livelihoods. Going forward, the impact of transhumance should be incorporated into national climate adaptation strategies by institutionalizing coordinations and governance, such as early warning systems of pasture stress. For better policy direction, the proposed national transhumance policy will better guide on this process and procedures. Therefore, we will work with the relevant minister, that's agriculture, to get this executed. On 6.2, that's the infrastructure and the Minister of Agriculture prioritizes in pasture development, water reservoirs, and veterinary service to support sustainable livestock management. And 2 says that the Minister of Agriculture, in collaboration with the Department of Livestock Services and other relevant agencies, develops designated livestock corridors, including cross-border arrangements with the government of Senegal and other neighboring countries. And 3, that the Minister of Agriculture strengthens the livestock tagging and traceability system to improve monitoring, disease control, and accountability in livestock management. This also is specific for the Minister of Agriculture, Livestock, and Food Security. On 6.3, security and border management. The Minister of Interior, through the Gambia Police Force and the Department of Immigration, deploys joint patrol teams at critical transhumance entry point to monitor and manage cross-border livestock movements. This also for the Minister of Interior, even though we'll have a stake. Two, that the Immigration Department enhances its operational capacity to effectively monitor seasonal cross-border entries of herders and their livestock. Also for the Minister of Interior, that the Minister of Foreign Affairs, in collaboration with the Minister of Interior, engages with counterparts in Senegal and ECOWAS to strengthen and harmonize cross-border pastoral protocols for the Minister of Interior and Foreign Affairs. Four, that the Gambia Police Force is mandated to investigate and prosecute offenses including deforestation, violent attacks, and livestock theft related to transhumance activity, also for the Minister of Interior. Five, that the Department of Forestry, in collaboration with the Minister of Interior, strictly enforces Forest Act and related environmental laws, particularly against bush burning and illegal felling of trees. The Department of Forestry has intensified enforcement going by the Forest Act 2018 following the creation of a unit under the department comprised of personnel from the Gambia Armed Forces, as well as dedicated prosecutor provided by the Gambia Police Force. This has been provided ministry, the department to and fast track cases brought before the magistrates courts. Over the last 10 months, 27 vehicles with illegal timber produce were seized and the offenders taken to court and prosecuted. Over 30 illegal charcoal production sites were raided, and the illegally produced charcoal also seized. The department is also intensifying community engagement and awareness campaign to enhance local support and participation in the fight and enforcement of illegal practices affecting our forests. Also coming up with reward strategies to motivate community owners and community ownership and participation in the protection and management of our forest cover. All these things are now in force, and all of you will be witness with me that enforcement has been intensified unprecedentedly. Six, that the Minister of Agriculture, Interior, and the Department of Forestry jointly undertakes capacity building program to security agencies, focusing on the enforcement of the Animal Health Act, the Forestry Act, and other applicable legislations governing pastoralism. The Department of Forestry, through MECNA, will engage the Minister of Agriculture, Livestock and Food Security and the Minister of Interior to develop a capacity building program for security agencies within the limits of the Forest Act 2018 and its relating to the pastoralism. On community participation and support. One, the Minister of Agriculture and the Minister of Lands, Regional Government and Religious Affairs empower traditional authorities and local governance structures to manage grazing arrangements, mediate disputes, and oversee pasture usage within their jurisdictions. That these ministries also establish and train local mediators, mediation teams, and rapid conflict response unit to facilitate timely resolutions of disputes between farmers and herders. That the government provides targeted support to women's farming communities adversely affected, including through livelihoods restoration programs and compensation mechanism where appropriate. All the above are for the Minister of Agriculture, Livestock and Food Security and the Minister of Lands, Regional Government and Religious Affairs, Environmental Management. That the Minister of Agriculture, in partnership with the Minister of Environment, Climate Change and Natural Resources and the Minister of Interior, promotes control grazing practices and rotational pasture system to prevent overgrazing and land degradation. This recommendation is to be led by the Minister of Agriculture, Livestock and Food Security, and MECNA is also on hand to collaborate with them in the promotion of controlled grazing practices, especially that affects our environmental interests. That the government implements community-led reforestation and afforestation campaigns in vulnerable areas affected by transhumance activity. The Department of Forestry has started a campaign to grow 30 million trees across the country by partnering with local communities and private partners. Nurseries have been established to plant fast-growing species that are not only climate friendly, but also with respect to our local weather patterns. The department is also working with private sector in making sure that this is enhanced and we're able to execute this in the next few years. That stringent penalties be enforced against bush burning, deforestation, and other environmentally harmful practices in line with existing forestry and environmental laws. Penalties under existing laws are being applied by the courts. However, they are not punitive enough to act as meaningful deterrents. That's our assessment, and this has necessitated the ongoing review of the Forest Act 2018. And we are filing this. A draft has already been submitted to the Minister of Justice for legal review to continue on the process of having the Forest Act 2018 completely reviewed to match with the current situations. On that note, Honorable Speaker, I submit. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable members, as you would have noticed during my introduction of this business of the order paper, I indicated that it's for the Ministers of Environment and that of Interior. So now we will invite the Honorable Minister for Interior to also make his reply. Then he asks questions, both of them, to jointly to answer. The Honorable Minister for Interior, you may take the podium. So, Honorable Minister, you sit next to Minister of Interior, please take the podium. Serekunda Willis and Sami, please.
Good morning, Honorable Speaker. Good morning, honorable members of the National Assembly. Ramadan Mukayim. I want to also join my colleague in thanking the committee for a job very well done, and have the pleasure to comment on the recommendation thereof. I will only limit my answers to the recommendation that are borders toward my ministry. Security and Border Management, that's one. That the Ministry of Interior, through the Gambia Police Force and Department of Immigration, deploys joint patrol teams at critical transshipments entrance point to monitor and manage cross-border livestock movement. The Gambia Immigration Department is supported by the Gambia Police Force to implement measures for enhanced border control and security. While most of these recognized entry points are fitted with modern technology to keep accurate records of people, the unrecognized entry points remained a challenge. However, this gap is to a great extent closed by improved physical border patrol. However, I must highlight that one factor that limits our capacity in border patrol is the limited mobility and associated operational cost. Two, that the Immigration Department enhance its operational capacity to effectively monitor seasonal cross-border entries of herders and their livestock. The Gambia Immigration Department will soon deploy its first batch of Border Patrol team. This team will focus on all types of cross-border movement to ensure maximum enforcement of all entry points and rules, in close collaboration with the GPF, the Gambia Police Force, and other law enforcement institutions under my ministry. A more effective and efficient regime of border control will be introduced soon. 3, that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and in collaboration with the Ministry of Interior engages with counterparts in Senegal and ECOWAS to strengthen and harmonize cross-border pastoral protocols. The ministry will engage the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to create the channel and lead discussion on this particular matter. 4, that the Gambia Police Force is mandated to investigate and prosecute offenses, including deforestation, violence attack, and livestock theft related to transshumance activities. The Gambia Police Force, based on its broad law enforcement mandate, is willing and committed to apprehend, investigate, and prosecute all matters criminal conduct, including deforestation, livestock theft, bush burning, and illegal felling of trees. 5, that the Department of Forestry, in collaboration with the Ministry of Interior, strictly enforces the Forestry Act and related environmental laws, particularly against bush burning and illegal felling of trees. I refer you to my earlier submission that we are committed to do the same. 6, that the Ministries of Agriculture, Interior, and the Department of Forestry jointly undertake capacity building program for security agencies focusing on the enforcement of the Animal Health Act, the Forestry Act, and other applicable legislation governing pastoralism. The ministry will initiate collaboration with the Ministry of Agriculture to synthesize and build the capacity of law enforcement officers as recommended by the committee. Finally, the ministry is committed to ensure the law enforcement agencies support both the Ministry of Agriculture and Ministry of Environment in all their endeavor to execute their respective mandate. I submit.
Honorable members, pursuant to Order 48(6)(6) of the standing orders, and I quote, after the statement has been delivered in the Assembly, a period of questions on the statement, which shall last no more than 1 hour, may then ensue. The Speaker shall determine the period taken into consideration, the content of the statement, the number of members wishing to ask questions, and the pressure of the other business. Honorable members, on that note, may I now invite the honorable members to ask questions relating to the statements provided by the 2 ministers. Member for Brikama South.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable ministers, please, you take note. A member can refer to any minister that you may wish to ask.
This is
the questions, please.
This question will be directed to the Environment Ministry in respect to the policy formulation, the National Transhuman Policy, which I believe is extremely important. Since you look at this activity, contain a lot of violence activities that is a threat to the nation. So I want to inquire, what stage are you in the preparation of this policy, and when do we have a time frame for the policy too? The other one is about for the Interior Minister, limited mobility. Other than limit the budget allocation as far as mobility procurement is concerned, is there any option to get another funding so that mobility can be provided, because this is extremely important, other than budgetary allocation? Do you have an alternative funding area that can be used to procure vehicles? Thank you.
Honorable Member for Central Badibu. Honorable Ministers, please take note. maybe ideally 3 questions per minister, then we'll allow you to respond. Yes, member for Central Badibu.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Chair, I want to observe something.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and thank you, our able ministers. Honorable Minister for Environment, thank you for appearing before us, and Ramadan Karim. Now, I just want to make a follow-up. Since this report been tabled here, your office, and you know that the season is fast approaching, what measures have you taken in the partnership that you're talking about with other stakeholders? Have you taken any concrete action to see that the violence that we're talking about, the environmental damage, is mitigated? Now, coming to the Ministry of Interior, we believe that, resources are challenged, but with all the challenges, what effort can your ministry, employ, to ensure that your existing staff on the ground to make follow-up on these transhumans? So we know that vehicles, but you have your various checkpoints through the length and breadth of this country. Thank you.
No, for Olundum, your tag was up.
No, I actually wanted to observe something as a matter of procedure, and also it's an observation. When the member for Brikama South was asking question, I was just trying to put this on the table to say the questions from members should be within the recommendation brought forward by the ministers on this particular issue. You understand?
Correct.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. So if the question is outside the recommendation, I think we need to scrutinize the recommendation they presented to us, and the question should be within that. If the question is outside, then
what you could have done was just to raise a point of order, not observation. And then you rose that observation when the member was so that's a point of order you should have raised. That's correct, because questions. All right, member for Lower Salem, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me the floor. Honorable Speaker, my questions will go to the Environment Ministry. Yes, on the record, you talk about the felling of trees or timbers, the illegal timbers that are allegedly. No, there are 27 people that are handed over to the ministry for prosecution for felling down timbers. Honorable Minister, don't you think already there is a right given to somewhere else and is taken somewhere else? Because there is a law that's banned felling down of trees. But now there are procedure that is taken by the ministry. As long as we want to safeguard our environment, there must be a condom of everything for felling down trees. But now we have seen the alcalos and the safers will give, and forest department office will give license endorsed by the ministry, that they will give a license to fell down a tree a particular place, and which was approved by you. And already you said we want to preserve our environment. Why not we ban it at all? Because if it goes to, in my constituencies, the alcalo of that village have the right to give out a tree. You understand? And there's a procedure until at your office whereby you give an approval.
Honorable members, it's question time for members. Please don't make a statement. Don't debate.
No, I am not.
No. Questions, please.
No, I am laying my foundation about put a question.
No, honorable member, we are not constructing a house here. No, you cannot lay a foundation. We are not constructing a house here. No foundation, please. You cannot lay a foundation here.
It's a parliamentary term. Maybe you don't know. It's a parliamentary term. Yes. Yes. You allow me to come, please.
Honorable,
yes,
that is not parliamentary term. Foundation. It's for the engineers.
Okay, Honorable Minister. Okay, can I ask my Honorable Minister, a lesson is issued by your ministry for people to fell down trees in various villages. And at the same time, there's a legality also on felling down trees. Why can't we stop of felling down trees in all of the, to preserve our forest?
We'll have one more, then we will one more to the first round. Member for Sanementring.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. My question will be directed to the Minister of Interior. With regards to the limited resources that they've already mentioned in the recommendation with regards to mobility, and I advise the Minister of Interior to incorporate this in the because that's a very serious issue with regards to mobility, where they are trying to protect the transhuman area. When they don't have mobility, is a serious issue, as I said. But then I also advise you can also incorporate it in the budget, the coming budget, so that this can be captured.
Honorable member, we are not here to advise ministers or make statements.
Well, okay, Honorable Minister, okay, let me just reframe it. Honorable Minister, can you consider to put this in the coming budget for the Parliament to consider, because this is a very serious. Excuse me. This is a very serious issue, because we are trying to address the transhuman issues, and when you're having challenges as a ministry with regards to mobility, I think I'm asking whether you can also try to see how best you can incorporate it in the coming budget. Thank you. And again, Honorable Speaker, to the Minister of Interior, sorry, to the Minister of Environment. With regards to the chapel, as mentioned by the honorable member for...
Your previous question, that was meant for...
I asked the Minister
Honorable,
of Interior...
Honorable, calm down. I'm just asking you, that question is for who?
The first question I said is for Minister of Interior. And the second question is directed or will be directed to the Minister of Environment with regards to charcoal. Honorable Minister, will you consider as a ministry to completely ban the falling of trees in order to create charcoal out of it, in order to maintain our trees in our communities? Thank you.
Honorable members, now I will call the honorable ministers to respond, then we go in for another set of questions, beginning with the Minister for Environment. Minister, please provide answers.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I start with the Brikama South question. That's on the policy formulation on the transhumans. I think agriculture will lead on that. The question is, what have we done since we have received this all on this? Agriculture is the ministry responsible for these transhumans issues. So we will work with it. We have not started to my own level. I'll have to consult with the permanent secretary, because this is for them to work. But we will make sure that we work with them on this, and not to give you a specific time, because I'm not the lead ministry. But once we settle on a date, you'll be duly informed, inshallah. For Central Badibu, efforts taken so far since the report was submitted on the transhumans challenge mitigation. This is not a new thing. Even before the report comes into actions, the minister has been working on this. Whenever I go on tour, most of the cases when I go on nationwide tour, we do come across these activities, and we engage governors. It has been discussed at the level of cabinet some time back, So action is being taken, even though we are trying to be very sensitive to protocol that governs us as a nation, that's the ECOWAS, free movement of goods and services. But notwithstanding, this should not be at a detriment of any country's national interest or even against local laws. So with the coming of the policy, I think that should guide on what we're going to do, because the policy will be tabled to cabinet, where you have other key stakeholders who are the Minister of Interior, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, and even Trade, who will look at it and then make sure that at least we are in context with what governs us as a country, but also putting in place our national interests as well. So we're waiting for the policy to incorporate all this. But at our own level, we've been doing consultation here and there whenever we have issues surrounding it. At the Lower Salem, on the confiscated vehicles, specific, you say that we should not even be given permits, but to ban in total. This is outside the law. Timber species, endangered species have been banned, not timber usage or even sales. We are working within the remits of the law. So in this case, we cannot say that we completely ban timber cutting or timber usage. We cannot, we need them, we need it. But we need to regulate it and make sure that at least the endangered species are protected. And that's what the ministry has done. And even those that are even endangered, whereby their existence also affects humans' life, we will give permit for it to be cut. So we are working within this. And I once said that the cutting of trees, or our trees are even more protected than even human beings if you follow the laws. Because you have to go through the entire chain of authority to be given a permit. If they follow it, we are encouraging people to make sure that they